Hi students, welcome back to your Android user interface session number 14. So in the last session we had studied about ripple effects, how can we introduce ripple effects in a button, or how can we introduce ripple effects inside a view which does not have a default ripple effect. And then we studied about a floating action button, Fab. And then we studied about the landscape mode and the portrait mode and how to align the elements in a landscape mode and in a portrait mode. So today we are going to study about a new type of layout, which is the constraint layout. This layout, the support for this layout started after the Android version 2.2. So the earlier, the version that we're using earlier in the previous sessions, that was version 2.1.2. So in that version, we did not have any support for the constraint layout. So now we have updated our Android Studio to 2.2. So there could be some minor changes in the UI. So one of the difference in this updated version will be that normally whenever you used to create a new layout, you had the option of a linear layout or a relative layout. So by default a linear layout was the option, but in this version you'll have the constraint layout as the default option. So let's start with the constraint layout. So first, the definition. So the constraint layout allows you to create large and complex layouts with a flat view hierarchy. So here the main focus should be the flat view hierarchy. So if you remember that the relative layout had a flat hierarchy, so similarly the constraint layout also has a flat view hierarchy. So it's similar to a relative layout in that all views are laid out according to this relationship between the sibling views and the parent layout. But it's more flexible than the relative layout and easier to use with Android Studio's layout editor. So in a way it is similar to the relative layout because it has a flat view hierarchy, but it is also more flexible than the relative layout and it is easier to use with the layout editor. So in a constraint layout there is very few times where you have to use nested views. So even if you have to use nested views or nesting, then that will be only limited to a one level nesting process rather than a multiple level nesting. So the flexibility of a constraint layout lies in that it is very easy to use in the layout editor, which would mean that you can actually drag drop the elements and you can eliminate writing of the code for introducing elements. So moving on. So all the power of the constraint layout is available directly from the layout editor's visual tools, because the layout API and the layout editor were specially built for each other. So you can build your layout with constraint layout entirely by drag and dropping instead of editing the XML. So this is the same thing that I just explained you in the previous slide, that because the layout editor and the layout API are in sync with each other, have been made specifically for each other, so they can be so we can actually drag and drop the elements for a constraint layout. That is why we don't really need to edit the XML here. So constraint layout is available in an API library that's compatible with Android 2.3, which is API level 9 and higher. So basically the constraint layout is available in an API library form, which we need to add into our Android Studio. So for adding that library into our Android Studio, the Android Studio must be version 2.3 or above. Only then the constraint layout will be added to our Android Studio. So this also goes to show that we regularly need to update our Android Studio. As soon as a new update comes, we need to regularly update it to have the latest libraries included in our Android Studio. So here I'll just show you some of the links that you can use for studying more about constraint layouts in detail, because this is a very vast topic. So you can just go into your browser and type in constraint layout. Once you do that, you will have many options here, but you can just click on the first three. So the first link will be the build a responsive UI with a constraint layout. So this is the Android developers official site where they tell you about how to build the UI design with a constraint layout. So this is all they have defined: what is constraint layout, how to add your constraint layout to your project, then add a constraint, parent position, and everything regarding the constraint layout is available here. So you can go through this link, and then there are this is this link where you can see the sample code, and you can run the sample code, and you can build a starter app here. You can do your exercise using the starter app. You can create manual constraints. Once you learn more about constraints, then you can start creating your own manual constraints. So these are the links that you can use for learning more about constraints and how to form a constraint, how to introduce a constraint, and use the constraint with each other. So these links will help you to understand more about constraints if you need some. So this is also available in our study material along with the video. We'll be adding the links over there also, so you can use that to access these links. So if we go to our studio and see, so this is some of the changes that you can see. This is the Android Studio 2.3.3, and you have a properties window here, and this is your normal preview window. So there are some options here, and there is a component tree window here where you can see all the components that are being used or available, and we'll study more about these and how to introduce them. So but before we do that, let's go back to our slide and learn something more about constraints. So to define a view's position in constraint layout, you must add at least one horizontal and one vertical constraint for the view. So this is a very important point here, that in order to define the view's position, we need to have one horizontal and one vertical constraint for the view. So each constraint represents a connection or alignment to another view, the parent layout, or an invisible guideline. So basically it helps in alignment with each other. So each view helps in alignment with each other. So that is why we need to add one horizontal and one vertical constraint for the view. So each constraint defines the view's position along either the vertical or horizontal axis. So each view must have a minimum of one constraint for each axis, but often more are necessary. So this is the same thing that we have said earlier, that each view should have one horizontal and one vertical constraint. So that this is what is written here also, that we need to define a vertical or a horizontal axis for the view. So for example, if we see here in this slide, so we have A, B and C. So these are the three views, A, B and C. So the left side of the B view is attached to the right side of the A view, and the bottom side of the A view is attached to the top side of the C view. So here we'll use the constraint. So constraint top of the C view to bottom of the A view. So the view will look something like this. So and these are the dots that are used to connect uh, the two views, and this is the baseline that you see here. So baseline is basically used to align the views in front of each other so that the alignment is correct. They are not like for example the A view here and the B view here should be in perfect alignment, in straight alignment with each other. So this is how the base view helps us to align the two views. So to see this practically, let's move to the Android Studio. So this is our Android Studio, where we have created a new project called Demo App. So here we have a main activity Java class, and this is the main activity underscore main, the XML part of the activity, where we'll write our XML code. So here we have some code written earlier. So the basic difference between the constraint layout and a linear or a relative layout is that in the constraint layout, or in case of linear layout, we used to write our code here and see the changes in the preview window here. But in case of the constraint layout, we'll be using this screen, the design screen here, and seeing the change in the blue screen that is available here. So here let's define our windows that we are using here. So this is your normal project window where you have your all project related files. This is your main design window where you can see your preview and where you can design or add your elements. And we'll be working in the activity underscore main.xml file. This is your component tree, which will show you all the components or the layouts that are used here. So let's see if we can convert a linear layout into a a constraint view. So this is your constraint view and this is your text. So let's say we change our text to hello world, and this is our text view, and for let's change this to linear layout. So this becomes your linear layout. And here if we go into design, so this now component tree shows a linear layout horizontal view, and inside that we have a text view in which the text is hello world. So in order to, if we have a linear layout, and in order to change the linear layout, convert the linear layout into the constraint layout, for that what we can do is highlight it, and we have an option here, convert linear layout to constraint layout. So if we click on this, there'll be a message, and this is basically the option of flatten out hierarchy or don't flatten out the hierarchy. So we just keep it as selected for both and we click OK. So now this constraint layout, the linear layout, has been changed to constraint layout. So this is how we can convert a linear layout, existing linear layout, into a constraint layout. So let's work with this one view only for now. So let me just show you the windows that we have here. So if we just want to see the design, we can just see it in the preview window. If we want to see the blueprint, we can have the blueprint window. But if you want to see the design and the blueprint, then you can use the third option here. So let's work with only the blueprint window here. So once you click on it, so in order to understand this better, let's make some changes to our text view so that we have it in the center. So for that, let's just change the layout constraint. So for this, let's have the constraint bottom to the bottom of value and add at parent, and similarly to the left of parent, constraint left underscore to left of equal to parent, and to the right of and to the top of. So similarly to the, so here we can use app. So same way we can just copy this, paste this, and we want to use top constraint top to the top of parent and paste again, and we want to use here right to the right of parent. So now it is in the center. So if we go back to our design window here, so we can see now our constraint is in the center and it's showing the constraint that we have defined from the top, from the left side, right side, and the bottom. So let's make some changes here and see. So this is the layout width and this is the properties window. So this is the layout. This properties window might be hidden for you, which will be like this. So any window that is hidden, you can just click on it and it will just expand. So here if you just change the width to 100 dp and this also to 100 dp, so this view gets expanded. So these are the 4 points where we can use to attach and detach the view from the dependency. So for example, if I just click on this dot here on the left side, the dependency on the left side of the view gets removed, and if I click it again, so if I just click it and bring it to this side, then it gets attached. So let's suppose we remove the dependencies and just keep it here, or let's just completely delete this and add in a new view by just selecting the text view here and just dropping it here. So if we go to our text here, so here we see this error which is that this view is not constrained. It only has design time positions, so it will jump to 0 0 unless you add constraints. So it's telling us that this view has got no dependency on any edges, so that is why it will jump to the 0 0 position unless you add constraints. So let's define some constraints for this view here. So if we just click on it, if I just zoom it in, so that you can have a better view. Yeah, so I think, yeah. So now you can see this is our view, and these are the 4 dots to attach from the to the edges. So we can attach our view from these dots to the respective edge. So for this we can attach to the left edge. This is the top edge, the top attach view, and this is for the right edge, and this is for the bottom. So if we just click here, and notice here that this is our view that is highlighted, and it has got no dependency on the top, left, right or bottom. So as soon as you click this button here, this dot here, and start to drag your mouse, the dependency here will show up. So if we just remove this, so this visibility of the constraint is gone, indicating that this view has got no constraints right now. So if we just do it for the right side also, it will move towards the right side. Now we can see the constraint is for the right side, and by default 8 dp is the margin that is kept for the constraint. That is the default margin width. So if we move this further, you can see the margin width is expanding, but 8 dp is your minimum margin, the default margin width. So you can click here, and if you just again do it, it will be at 8 dp. So if we go in our code and check, so you'll be able to see that now we have a constraint layout underscore constraint right. So this means that our right edge, the right edge here of the view has been provided a constraint, and further it says to the right of parent. So that means that the right edge of the view, which is this, has been provided the constraint to the right of the parent, which is this edge of the parent view. So this means that the right edge has been provided a constraint which is to the right of the parent. So if we add a left constraint, so and then check, so now the constraint left has been added. So that means constraint left, the left edge of the view, constraint has been added to a left edge of the view to the left of the parent view. So to the left of the parent view. So also if you just hover on this text view, the error is still showing that this view is not constrained vertically. At runtime it will jump to the left unless you add a vertical constraint. So to remove the error, let's see if we attach our top constraint to the top of the parent. So here we have added constraint top to the top of parent, and now the error is gone. So now having attached the view with horizontal and vertical, like we studied in the in one of our slides earlier, that this view needs to have horizontal constraint as well as one vertical constraint as well. So as soon as we did that, the error from the code disappeared. So this was an important point here, that we need to add horizontal and vertical constraints to our view in order to have an error-free code. Here also, if you notice that these arrows are basically for wrap content. So this is your vertical arrows indicating wrap content, and these are your horizontal arrows indicating wrap content of the view. So basically this is your width property as wrap content, and this is your height property as wrap content, and these are your margins from the sides and edges. So as soon as your text view grows or expands, so it will leave only 8 dp of space from the sides. There is no connection with the bottom view as such, so that is why there is no it does not indicate any connection with the bottom view. So if we add a connection to the bottom view, so this will come in the middle. So the view comes in the middle, and these are your alignment bars where you can align the whole view vertically and horizontally. So if you move this according on the axis here, it will, the whole view both from the top and the bottom will move together and align the view accordingly, so that you don't have to move independently the top view or the bottom view, and same way for the right and the left view. So by default it is set at 50 for horizontal and vertical. So if I remove this constraint and the bottom constraint, so by default it automatically gets aligned to the top left corner. So here we can see that we have a top constraint and a left constraint, and our view is showing up at the top left corner. And similarly, if we put a right constraint and remove the left constraint, it will be towards the top right corner. So wherever you have to keep your view, you'll have to define two axes. One is vertical axis and one will be the horizontal axis. So now talking about our match parent and wrap content properties. So this is currently at, let's just remove this view and just keep it here. So currently it is at currently the value is set at wrap content, but if we click here once, we'll see that the value now becomes fixed. So this is your fixed value of layout width, which is 57 dp. That is the default value that for the fixed parameter. So if we click it here again, so it now becomes, width becomes 0 dp. So now the layout width becomes 0 dp, and here the value changes to match constraints, which means that it will the value will be from 0 dp, the width will be from 0 dp, and the width will become equal to the match parent. Similarly, if we talk about the height is currently set at wrap content. So if we click it once, it will be fixed. So this will be fixed, and now if we click it again, it will be 0 dp. The layout underscore height becomes 0 dp, and it is match constraint. So currently we do not have any relation with the bottom view, that is why it is not showing up properly. So if we add the bottom view here, now first add a bottom view here, and now change it to this, and towards the right also. So now it will cover the whole area. So let's revise what we've done till now. So let's delete this we don't have any text view now. Let's introduce a text view by dragging and dropping a text view in the center. So now we should have minimum of 2 constraints available, one vertically and one horizontally. We can see the connection with the left and the top from here, and the default value, the default margin is 8 dp. We can change it accordingly. Then you can attach this towards this and change the width. So you can increase the text view width to match the parent with layout width as 0 dp. So you can change the height as well by using this and changing the value as match constraints. So this was all about how to set a view and how to add constraints to a view. So having learned the basics of the constraint layout, now let us start, or let me just show you what we can do for today as an exercise. So this is our overview screen in the Code Labs Developers Google website. So we'll try to execute something similar to this screen that is shown here. So first of all, we'll need an image view, which will be shown here, and then on top of that image we'll have another image view, in this case that is a star, and then we'll have a text view here and some edit text and text view again, and then 2 buttons. So let's start. So let's go to our Android Studio and remove this. So initially we need an image view. So let's find the image view inside here. So by chance if you are not able to find the image view here, you can just filter from here images, and then you'll see the image view and you can just drag and drop. So this is your image view. So as soon as you drag and drop, it will ask you to select an image for it. So here we have the list of images or icons that we can set inside the image view, but there could be a case that the image that we are looking for is not in the list. So in that case we'll have to add the image inside and then use it. So if we have the image on our, let's suppose we have this image on our desktop or in our PC, and we want to use this image. So in order to do that, let's copy this image from our desktop and open the resources folder and go into the drawable folder. So to add this image, we have already added this image. Let's delete it for now, and to add it again, let's just copy, and as soon as we paste the image in our drawable folder, it will show here. So now if we use the image view and inflate our image view, we will find the HD nature wallpaper image that we have used. So if I click OK, this image view will set. So now we need to adjust the image accordingly to our screen. So in order to do that, currently the parameter is set to wrap content and we need to change it to fixed. So now changing it to fixed, it takes up the image size, and we can change the image size to, let's suppose 100 dp, and or width can be 200 dp because we need to align it, because the width needs to be larger than the height, and height can be 100 dp. So as soon as we do this, our image gets resized. So if we see our screen here, so it is attached to the top, left and right sides. So let's do that. Let's put it as right constraint, left constraint, and also as top constraint. But here we need to make sure that there is no margins from the sides like here it is seen in the screen. So for that we need to reduce the margin to 0 from these sides, and then only we'll have the image according to our screen. So width, here we can see that it is match parent because it takes up the width of the screen. So here we can put the value as match constraint so that the width becomes as match parent. And let's increase the height to 150 now. So now the image view will be something in proportion to our screen here. Also, if we see the view here, it's not the image, the height is proper but the width is not. The reason is that we need to add another property here, which is the scale type. The scale type property. Scale type center crop. So now it will occupy the whole width. So now if we go back to our design screen here, so we can check for different screen sizes according to the resolution how the image or the views will look like. So this is according to different resolutions. It adjusts the size, the image size gets adjusted. So this was about the image. Now we need to add a Fab button. So which is this button here. So for that, what we need to do is, so we go into design and we try to find the floating action button, which is here. So as soon as we drag and drop this, it will ask for the icon that we want to use inside the floating action button. So if we select this or this, let's select this and click OK, and let's go to our text view and we can see the floating action button being added here. So also if you notice that the the Fab button here has the accent color. So we all know that this is because accent color is the default color. So we can change the color later on as well. So that is not a big issue, but we need to align it properly according to the screen here. So the Fab needs to be on the right side of the right bottom side of the screen. So we need to place it here, but before placing it here, we know that we need to put some constraints. So we have added 2 constraints, and then we can put our Fab icon, Fab button on the corner here. So then after attaching the Fab button, we need to add the text view here, which is Singapore. So let's go into our all window and add a text view. So this is our text view, and after doing that, attach the constraints accordingly. So now we have added a vertical constraint and a horizontal constraint, and here we can keep the margins accordingly, or we can change the margins from here. So let's keep the margin something like this, and let's put in the text as Singapore. So let's see how this looks like in the actual design. So it just feels a little lower to the image, so let's just raise it up a little, and now let's just see how does it look like. So it's still a little lower, so let's just increase the height of the Fab button and the text area here, and now it looks at a perfect position. So now this is done, but the style of the text can be changed. So to add a text style, let's just add some properties, like for example, so text style property, and let's keep it as bold, so that will bolden the font. So then coming on to our next view is the another text view. So for that, let's go back to our design screen and add another text view, but we need to keep in mind that everything is aligned in this according to in one direction. So it needs to be, the alignment needs to be perfect with all views. So for that, what we can do is let's zoom a little, and once adding a view, you can use this margin as your guidelines. So let's suppose this is your guideline here. So now this text view is very much aligned with the above text view. So for all the views that we add in this page, we can keep in mind the margins from the sides. So for this, what we can do is, now to define the constraints for this text view, we can add the text view to text view constraint, and for keeping the margin same, what we can do is we can attach the view of the left side with the constraint for the view of the top view, so that whatever the margin is there for this view from the left side, the next view automatically takes that same margin. So we don't have to define margins for each view separately. So this 8 that you see is the default margin, which is because of this. So if we remove this 8 here and bring it to 0, so now it will be perfectly aligned with the view on top. And just to remove the spacing, let's bring it down to 24. So let's change this text for this view is camera. So let's change it to camera. So now we need an edit text here. So for that, what we can do is go into text and add the plain text view here. So this is your plain text view. Let's zoom out a little. So for adding the constraint to the left side, we can directly attach it to the right side of the camera view. But now here, the top edge, now the problem is with the top edge. Now where to attach this top edge constraint? Either with the image view, or with the fab icon view, or with the text view here. So in this case, we have another option. What we can do is that we can, if you see our image here, there is a line and on top of the line just the text is written. So we need to align this text according to our view in front of it. So what we can do is we can select this option here, the AB option, and this is your alignment line with this alignment. So as soon as we join the alignment of this view with the alignment of this view, both the views will be in front of each other. Similarly, if we just align this, if we just align this with this, then it will become aligned to this line. But we need to align it with this, so we keep it in front of this. And for the right side, it's better that we align or match the constraint with this fab icon view, because then we'll have the same margin from the right side as the fab icon. Otherwise you'll have to provide a different margin here individually. So now by doing all this, we actually don't need to provide a vertical constraint anymore, because we have aligned it with this view here and attached it with the fab icon view on the right side. And to remove this additional space from this side, we can just reduce it to 0. And from this side, we can add keep a margin of 32, so that the spacing is proper between these two fields. And for this, we can keep it as match parent, so that it occupies the space that is left. So here we can add a hint, which can be camera. What was the hint written here? So for example, we can write the model number for the camera. So that will be your hint view. So here it is name. So here the edit text has a text, but it does not have a hint. So we need to remove this text. So now it will be a model number. So now we need to add another text view. So which is here. So this is the text view. For the top constraint, we can add it here. For the left constraint, we can keep it here. Remove the margin from this side and provide the top margin as 16, or even 20 would be fine. Then we can change the text here inside, which can be settings. So we need another text view here, so we need to find the text view or the plain text view here. Just drag and drop, and we don't need to attach the top constraint here. What we can do is just attach the right constraint to this, the left constraint to the left edge, and keep margin as 0. And for the right edge, we can attach it to this side and keep this as match parent and width as 0, so that it is both the views are aligned properly. So then now about the baseline alignment, it is here. So the view will become something like this. So now we can actually increase the margin from top. Let's keep it at, let's suppose 20, let's suppose 26, or even further, so that these don't intervene with each other. Let's keep it as 28. So now they are not they're not merging with each other, so this is fine. Also, we can provide a hint text here, enter settings, and check our text here. It's showing name, so we can remove this so that we can see the hint. So this is looking perfect till now. So now the next is the text view. So let's go back to our design page and just zoom out a little and just use a bigger size screen so that we have a better view. Let's keep it like this, and let's add a text view. So keep our text view here. So for alignment, what we can do is we need to make sure that this text view comes below this view and increase the level, the margin here to around 24, and the left alignment is directly with this view here, and remove the margin so that it is aligned properly. So if we zoom in, we'll be able to see that properly. So this is how it will look like. So it is perfectly aligned with this, and it comes below the last view. So now similar with the right. So we attach it with the right view here, and we remove the margin, and width can be kept as match parent, and we need to attach this to the bottom. But before doing that, we need to remember that we have to add 2 buttons here. So for doing that, let's add the buttons first. So this is a button here, so let's add 1 button. So this is our button here, and we can just drag it and drop it here, and use this. So these are the 2 constraints that we are using for this button, with 88 dp as default margin. So if we use another button here, so just drag and drop it here and keep them in front of each other. So this button is connected with the button on the right, and the bottom connection is with the bottom edge of the screen. So now we need to just define this area basically, that is before the buttons. So we need to put a constraint at the bottom edge. So for doing that, let's attach it to the top of any of one of the buttons. So here let's keep the margin as 16 and 16, and change the value to match parent. So whatever the area is left now, the text view will take up that area. So let's try to add some text in this code, in this text view. So let's say this text will go into the text view area here, and for doing that, just go into the text view. This is the text view, this is the text, and we are using this text here. So if you see here in the preview screen, it's almost the same as what we had started off designing, which is this. We have the image view, we have the Fab button, we have text views, edit text views, then buttons. So it's almost the same here, So here this is how you can use the constraint layout, wherein you don't have to use any XML coding. You just need to use elements, drag and drop them, and assign constraints to them. um, Vertical constraint, horizontal constraint, and how to add a view, and how to for example, the image view, when it was not being set even after dragging and dropping, so we had to use the scale type property. So some of these properties are to be used, but it it really depends on the view that we are using. In most cases, it is normally we don't require them to be used, but sometimes when it is to be used, we should know how to set it properly. Also, moreover, we can see for different screen sizes. For example, a 4.7-inch screen, the view is like this, and for a 6-inch screen, the view is like this. So the views are perfectly managed. So the views will be perfectly aligned and managed for every screen size using the constraint layout. Also, another advantage of this is that it's a flat view hierarchy. So if you look at this, we just have one hierarchy, that is the one layout, that is constraint layout, and all the elements are used inside this layout. So it's a flat view hierarchy. The advantage of using a flat view hierarchy is that the pages that load inside the application load up very quickly. The application performance is better and memory allocation is less. So in this exercise, we have tried to use all the elements that we have studied till now in linear layout, relative layout, like for example, image view, fab button, buttons, text view, edit text views. So these are enough for you to understand the working of a constraint layout and to design a normal simple screen inside using the constraint layout. So this is all for this session currently. So we have study material attached with this video, and also I've also told you about the links that you can go and watch or read for better understanding for the constraint layouts. So this is part of the study material, and you can exercise at your own level, and if you have any issues or doubts, you can just write in to us, and we'll try to help you out as soon as possible. So let's see you in the next session, and let's continue with this constraint layout in the next session. So thank you so much.